Okay, so I have sat ringside over the back and forth of Sound of Freedom, the latest Christian booster drama, without having much desire to give the film the bulk of my free afternoon. This, you should know, is not a knee jerk reaction. It comes from experience. I am a Christian, but I dislike Christian films. Over the last decade, I've taken an uncomfortable seat at the kids' table of this budding genre of faith based films and found them, stay with me, generally terrible. That's not a knock at the subject matter, it's a knock at the filmmaking, which works a torpid artistic statement from the outside in. The productions often look shabby, they're populated by actors who couldn't deliver a genuine line of dialogue with a gun to their heads, and they are run through a one-sided choir-preaching subject matter that is generally dedicated to giving a Christian audience what they want to hear. You know I'm right. This is not a seedless opinion. I've seen these films either at home or in a theater, and whether they're shoveling sermonizing on the dangers of atheists, bad marriages, the war on Christmas, dating, abortion, or Columbine, it hasn't matured into anything that gets your brain jogging. And given the wide breadth of subject matter, it's clear that the makers of these films have a little trouble deciding which hill they want to die on. Now, giving credit where credit is due, things have slightly improved. The movies are still terrible, but they're only slightly less terrible than they used to be. For me, that's like saying the rattle in your car's engine at least isn't drowning out the radio. So I don't want to be accused of hating for hate's sake. That's not what I do. I went into Sound of Freedom with an open mind. I went into all of the above-mentioned films with an open mind, and they're still terrible. Sound of Freedom is, on a technical level, at least competent. It looks like a really dark episode of CSI. Its music is ominous and brooding, and its lighting is set to make the hero, played by Jim Caviezel, look beautiful and brawny. He's sexy with muscles, but rest assured the most powerful muscle is the one beating in his chest. As Tim Ballard, a real-life Homeland Security agent who left his job 10 months before his pension to personally take up the cause of child sex trafficking in Colombia, he's a frustrated saint. Batman with a cause. The pieces are in place. This is a good-looking movie. The problem is the filmmaking. It's all packaged and manipulated to make you care without upsetting you too much with actual information. Director Alejandro Monteverde, who was also the film's co-screenwriter, doesn't really seem compelled to offer up any details about how the operation works. No real focus on the kinds of individuals who keep it going, and certainly no hint of the high-ranking politicians who helpfully look the other way. This is a movie that moves you based on dark images and nerve-jangling music. The problem is that every single person sitting down to watch this movie already knows that sex trafficking exists, so why is the movie not offering any other information? Why offer this dire and very important subject in the guise of a routine thriller? It's as if the movie is saying you can't handle the subject matter any other way. All through this movie, I kept thinking that the message might have been better served in a documentary, but then I reasoned documentaries require effort. They require information and research, and a narrative through line, names, positions, incidents, people, real facts. This is not something that Angel Studios, the studio that produced this film, is striving for. It wants to present the problem of human trafficking through the means of a conspiracy and conjecture, but not in real terms. It keeps the all-American hero in clear focus, but the no-good foreigner shady and dark and just a hair the side of stereotypical. Presenting any of these characters, good or bad, as three-dimensional would challenge the audience, and, well, we can't have that. The movie ends with a text that reminds you that Ballard's efforts helped pass legislation that made international cooperation on the kinds of sting operations portrayed in the film possible. But they only go to illustrate that what he did was given a nod on the governmental level. There's a larger problem at stake, and I don't think that the screenwriters have researched or educated themselves on the particulars of the problem. We get manipulated with feelings, not information. The movie ends with an on-screen message from Caviezel who reminds us that Sound of Freedom doesn't have big studio money, and to call out audiences to spread the word, rent out theaters, and get the movie in front of audiences before it gets swallowed up by the summer blockbuster. Either Angel Studios understands its limits, or they're using this to admit that they have a subpar film on their hands. Caviezel posits that the film could be used as the Uncle Tom's Cabin of child sex trafficking. That's interesting. The problem is that the film is so spare on details that I don't think it will work out that way. when he offers up a QR code that you can scan right there in the theater in order to buy more tickets to get people to see the film, I smell box office desperation more than any noble cause. I'm Jerry Dean Roberts, and I'll see you next time.